What do plastic bricks and yoga pants have in common? As a business strategist, I've been sitting with this question for some time. More broadly speaking, trying to unlock what makes brands sink or swim during and beyond a pandemic. Recent times have opened up a Pandora's box. From the global pandemic to the racially spurred riots and protests, to the fires that devastated communities from Australia to the US. What these events punctuate for me is the overdue need for reform. And to answer the question, what's next? I'd like to flip the script and ask, what's your role as a consumer in that reform? And what's the role of business? The reality is we've entered a new era of consumerism. With the pandemic, we've also been asked to sit in collective stillness, to press pause from our 9-to-5 lives, to cocoon, to slow down. This has gifted us both space and time to reflect, to play, to express, to reform, and in that to transform. If you look closely, it's the brands that arm us with the tools to transform that are thriving in this climate and will continue to resonate with the post-pandemic consumer. Since I was a child, I've believed in pushing outside my comfort zone, in working to be the best version of me, a philosophy modeled by my dad growing up. As a teenager, I channeled this through sport and entrepreneurship. I bootstrapped my first startup at age 14, helped along by a business-minded mom. Lindsay's microwave mitts. Protect your delicate fingers from hot dishes. A must-have in every 90s household. From there, I went on to compete as an NCAA athlete at Drexel and George Mason University, then on to growing the biggest yoga wear company in the world, Lululemon. I resigned from the 9-to-5 corporate world 6 years later to once again pursue my entrepreneurial dreams of founding my own consulting practice. I live and breathe the pursuit of personal growth. But having studied the consumer landscape and crafted the playbook for a variety of brands, what I've discovered is that striving to be one's best self is not only a personal pursuit, it's a business model. As a growth strategist, I help companies figure out where they're going and how they're going to get there. A critical part of that requires peering into the future, identifying key trends in the consumer arena and the why behind them. And what we're seeing is that not only are we playing and practicing mindfulness more, we're creating more, we're expressing more, we're mastering our skills more, we're hobbying more. How many of you have discovered a new pastime the last few months? Biking? Maybe some of you are also scootering. And then there's Pokemon. Never have I known more about the Pokemon revolution purely through observing my niece and nephew taking their art form to a whole other level. COVID-19 hit and boom, toy sales soared. Building sets and crafts up 75%, games and puzzles up 228%. And what about that great bread making retrend? Who would have thought sourdough starter kits would go viral? Who says millennials are undomesticated? So what binds all of these trends together? A paradigm shift known as the self-actualization economy. A movement of people looking to be their best selves and investing their time, energy, and dollars there. Something that was prevalent long before the pandemic and even more so now. What's driving this trend? The primal needs we all share as humans. To unpack that, let's time travel back to Psychology 101 and Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. A model many of you will recognize. A model intended to describe how human needs evolve. If we look back to the beginning of humankind, we'll note that most of our energy has been spent in the bottom of this pyramid on our basic needs. Water, shelter, food. Then we graduated to the middle, where we began prioritizing our social and psychological needs. Love, belonging, esteem. Enter online dating apps, enter Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the world of social media. The past 5 years has brought a slow graduation towards the top rung, self-actualization, the search for growth and purpose. Enter the mindfulness movement, the age of personal growth immersions, the gig economy. Understanding how human behavior drives consumerism fascinates me. When I first began this body of research, that same fascination led me down a rabbit hole, keen to see what updates had been made to Maslow's pyramid since the original. In that discovery, I came across a number of creative iterations, such as the tweens version of Maslow's hierarchy, the vegans version. But perhaps most interesting is this edition, what I like to call Maslow's best-kept secret. It turns out, years later, Maslow added a rung to the pyramid, self-transcendence, the realization that you're a small part of a much greater whole. This makes sense when you think about the movement towards corporate social responsibility, giving back, sustainability, the growth in spirituality. This is more relevant than ever right now. In fact, across 14 countries around the globe, survey says climate change outpaced or tied the pandemic as the most frequently mentioned major threat. So I think of this whole upper section of the pyramid, including transcendence, as the self-actualization economy. Both are about growth. But it's important to note that the journey up this pyramid is non-linear. It's not like a video game where you unlock one level to move to the next. It's fluid and reactive to our state of mind and what's happening around us. Now, what the pandemic has done in some ways is slingshot us back down the pyramid. We're no longer as concerned with that trip to Hawaii. Rather, we're worried about keeping our jobs and putting food on the table, i.e. our fundamental safety. However, I'd argue that we have to move back down in order to move back up. For any Liz Gilbert fans in the house, ruin is the road to transformation. So while we may feel like we're teetering on the edge of chaos right now, and in many ways we are, we've also been gifted the space to transform and self-actualize. Enter the collective stillness that I mentioned earlier on. And it's during these times that we as humans rapidly develop, that our growth accelerates. So, net-net, we're experiencing a movement of people spending more time, energy, and dollars on their self-actualization. This movement is being accelerated by the pandemic, and as a result, the self-actualization economy is gaining steam. This same economy has the potential to unleash the power of business. In fact, when you look at businesses serving their customers' self-actualization, many are showing signs of outperforming their peers through the pandemic. This includes two brands I've had the pleasure of working with, Lululemon, the darling of yoga wear, and the Lego Group, the toy brand beloved by all. Although these brands appear worlds apart, look closer and you'll notice a common thread, a purpose rooted in enabling their customers' growth and development. One through play, the other through providing customers the tools to fulfill their potential. It's this elixir that has and will allow them to thrive beyond crisis. I'd advocate that not only is this type of model savvy business, it's the obligation of commerce in a time of need. Business is the greatest tool to effect change, both during times of normalcy and crisis. It powers our lives, but its superpowers are grossly underutilized. It's time we remodeled. Beyond purpose-driven, building a self-actualization economy will allow us to scale the consciousness the events of the pandemic have given us. So, what does this look like and where do we even start? There's a couple ways we can activate this. At the business level, the first step is to answer the question, how do we enable our customers to be their best selves? Versus simply, how do we make money? Or what problem are we solving? Many of the brands that are swimming versus sinking in this pandemic are those who have built their business models around that question. Such as Beyond Meat, helping solve human health and environmental issues through a different way to nourish. Headspace, improve your health and happiness through a meditation app, enabling people to be their most mindful selves. Masterclass, learn that new skill from the expert in the field. Yes, business has made admirable strides in the realm of social innovation to date, from ethical manufacturing to minimizing carbon footprints to creating a more connected world. I applaud that. But the world is calling us to do more. I'm talking about making this stuff core to every brand's purpose and business model. I'm talking about diving in to figure out what self-actualization looks like for your customer and then enabling it for them. Imagine a world where every business focuses on betterment as a means to profit, where business is used to heal, where business is wellness, where business is wellness. Small, large, business to consumer brands, I implore every business to think through this lens. Now, you can also activate this at the individual level. As a consumer, you can define what being your best self looks like and embrace the products and services of business as a means to help get you there, to supercharge your self-actualization. As a consumer, when I purchase a Lego set, I'm not only purchasing hours of uninterrupted play, I'm purchasing stress relief, learning, connection. These benefits are expansive. They're things that help me grow. What helps you grow? I'd invite you to reflect. The more we can adopt this model on both these levels, business and individual, the greater the ripple effect. Because when we're each our best selves, our individual stitches strong, and not the yoga pant kind, we're able to more powerfully give back to our communities and the planet, creating our very own self-actualization economy. On the contrary, not embracing this model will result in clipping the wings of one of the most powerful forces at our disposal, commerce, just when we need it most. Recent times have opened up Pandora's box, but this has armed us with the collective consciousness required to solve the problems facing us today. I'd implore you as individuals and businesses to channel this moment, to remodel your outlook and unleash your superpower. So, what do plastic bricks and yoga pants have in common? Perhaps a lot more than you thought. Thank you.